I was 18 years old, right out of high school. So kind of nuts. I look back and I'm like, man, I was a kid, and he kind of knew it was coming. He was so nervous when it was coming, and so he was all out of sorts. And then eventually we go to his basement, and we have this conversation, and I go right ahead, shoot right to the point. I say, that I wanted to marry Hannah, and he had some questions for me and some thoughts and concerns, but ultimately he approved. Like, we didn't do it, outside of his blessing. But one of the things he asked me was super surprising. He asked me, "Do you like to hang out with Hannah?" So like, well, of course I like to. He's like, no, but like, for a long period of time, do you like to, like, what, is there something about her that I don't know? Yes, I like hanging out with your daughter. He said, good, because you're stuck with her if you go through with this. Like, okay. And it's just, it wasn't that he was being mean to Hannah. It was just the logical, like, marriage means a commitment and you're stuck. And so that I really took to heart. And what it makes me think of is how important it is to not just love your partner, but to like your partner. So a few years back, we had a consultant come into the church. This was before we were at Anchor. Consultant came in, and he had on the whiteboard, we were putting together our staff, qualities we're looking for in the staff and ministry leaders, and what were the things that we wanted to improve on. So things like hard work, excellence, attitude, all those things, humble, hungry, smart, that kind of stuff. We put all this stuff down on the whiteboard, and he's asking us, a room like this, he's saying, what do you think we need? And I rose my hand, I said, you need to be likable. And he stopped me, and he didn't necessarily agree. He said, well, sometimes you gotta not be liked. And so he questioned me. He said, is that really a quality? And I thought to myself, and I thought, yeah, I think it matters. I think it matters that we can be likable. Maybe there's some things we balance it with, sometimes we gotta be stern, sometimes we gotta, do things that people don't like, but likability, I think it matters. I don't know. In marketing, they talk about, there's 3 stages. Maybe you've heard, you've got to be known, like people got to know who you are. So that's awareness. They're not going to buy your product if they don't know you. But then it's know, like, and trust. And so you kind of build, like, how can you intentionally build those up? So I've heard that in the world of business and marketing. I remember talking to a friend the other day, and he was saying how in his football team, they didn't have to trust or like each other. They just had to get the job done. And I didn't like that. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. I didn't play football, and obviously I'm not the best at, athleticism, but I just thought, like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. I think it matters that there's not just a commitment to work together, not just love, but like. And so what we did is, in the Forbes article, some of the top causes of divorce. If you remember last week, we talked about the number 1 cause of divorce was lack of family support, which was a big surprise to me. But then, like, numbers 2, 3, and 4 are around the top of the list. You've got lack of compatibility, lack of companionship, and lack of intimacy. Those were some of the very top ones. And so, what I thought is, you can lack those things, and what that's pointing to is a lack of love, I'm sure, but it's definitely pointing to a lack of like. There's not that like level that should be there. So what I did is I put together all the things that kind of make up like, and I was very proud of myself. I couldn't make it an acronym that spelled out like, L-I-K-E. So the acronym is L-I-V-E. Because you got to live with a person. So whoever you're stuck with living, you should like. So LIVE is the tool we're going to talk about to kind of get a gauge for your relationships. And maybe you're thinking about, you can apply this to marriage, you can apply this to, parenthood, or you can apply it to friendships or whatever, to see where is your gauge at and what can you do to improve your likability or your level of like. All right, so here we go. The number one, or the first one, these aren't like in any particular order, just by the acronym, is lifestyle. So we've got a slide for that, lifestyle. That means I like what you like. Interests, hobbies, values, things like that you care about, things that you like spending time with, I also care about and I like spending time with. So we've got a verse here. Go ahead and go to that one. Philippians 2:4 says, not looking to your own interests, but for each of you, look to the interests of others. So in your relationships, whether they're romantic or friendships, we're called to look at what other people like and to care about what other people like. And this few months ago, I went to a Taylor Swift concert because I wanted to like what Hannah likes. And so for the longest time, for years and years and years, I knew Hannah liked to listen to Taylor Swift. I knew Hannah got really excited when a new album came out, but that was her thing. I was not interested. And then I went to the concert, and it was pretty good. I'll admit it. That is a talented musician and artist. I'll give it to you. I mean, some of you guys would probably say Beyonce's a little better. I know Tanika's not in the room, but there was a little bit of you went to the Beyonce concert? Yeah. But I really grew to appreciate Taylor Swift's music and I'm like, her lyrics are right on point. This is pretty good. And then at the concert, man, what really did it for me was at some point the stage opened up and she dove right in. Have you guys seen this stuff? Now the world's talking about her dating this football. There you go. Yeah. Like, this is kind of fun. I know Amanda will never like Taylor Swift, but that's okay because Hannah likes Taylor Swift. And so it actually, what it did was it started with me wanting to improve my relationship with Hannah and wanting to take interest in something she's taken interest in. And now what it actually did for me is actually made my world a little bigger. It helped give me something else I can be interested in and appreciate. So where is it for you? So we'll go ahead. The next slide, we've got a question. And what I want to do with these questions, just two out of the four, is I actually want some participation here. One of the things at Anchor, we want to be people first, which means you're not just always listening to me and what I have to say, that we're learning from one another. And so how I phrase it there is how you can think it through. What is something your partner likes that you can take an interest in? But I'm going to open it up. Here's what I want us to share with, and just show of hands. If you can think of something that somebody else, could be a romantic partner, it could be a friend, it could be maybe a parent or child, whatever it is, when somebody took an interest in something of yours, and it meant something to you. Yeah.
My husband took me to my dream place since I was a little girl in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
And spent our vacation and taking care of us.
That deserves a clap. Let's do it for Jazia. Very nice. Took her to her dream location. Fantastic. That's exactly it. I like what you like. Anyone else? Yeah, let's hear from a few more. Yeah.
Gabrielle is really interested in having me play Bluey and Peppa Pig.
Yeah.
Sometimes I really don't feel like it.
I'm sure. Whew.
I still do it oftentimes. I can't say 100% of the time, but I do it a lot.
That's great. Give it up for Sharina. Man, I've watched some of them kids shows these days. It's not like Blue's Clues. Some of that stuff is killer. Oh, just play. Okay, let the record. You like the shows. Shows are. I've heard good things about Bluey, but to do the games. And I'm sure that means a ton to her. That's great. Who else? Who else? Let's hear some good examples. Take a second to think. That's okay. Can we do, any one more? If you can think of, in any friendship, any relationship, either you or someone else. Oh, Serena's putting Willie on the spot, our worship leader. Willie, can you think of something where you took an interest? Put you right on the spot. Wow! Oh yeah, I know you do. You like the action, but oh, was there a good movie that you liked more than you thought you might? Hey, give it up for Willie! That's great. Okay, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. So L is for lifestyle. I like what you like. I is for intimacy, and we will not go around after this. This is a little more personal, and so I didn't know how to say it, but basically I like when our clothes are off, kind of thing. So intimacy. I mean, I think you guys kind of get it, but there are some things I wanted to share about that. Intimacy is sometimes when you come to church, you kind of think that God is anti-sex, but God is pro-sex. He invented it. Genesis 2, he created it in the context of marriage. If you read Song of Solomon, you see the Bible has a lot to say about romance and desire and chasing after one another and appreciating appearance, and all those kinds of things are there. And it's not necessarily just because, not just to have babies, but there's a value in what that does to a relationship. So I know a lot, like in this world today, one of the big questions is, should we actually get married? How important is it that sexual relations happen within marriage? And so I listened to a thing by Tim Keller. He actually just recently passed away, but he was a really smart pastor. And I listened to him give a little Q&A. And one of the things he said about it was that when you sleep with somebody, you are communicating that I can be totally vulnerable with you. So you can know all of me, I can know all of you. I totally 100% trust you. And his argument was that you're not being totally honest if it's not within a marriage covenant and a commitment. So if out of one side of your mouth you're saying, I totally, fully trust you, and I'm fully vulnerable to you, and then out of the other side of your mouth you say, but I want out when I want out, and I want to keep that door open, it's kind of mixed messages, and that can cause some damage. So I figured I'd throw that out there. I think he's a smart guy, and of course he got some pushback and stuff, but just something to consider. So we've got that. We also have a verse I wanted to put up while we're talking about intimacy. This is kind of the part of the series we're just going to briefly talk about. But if you want to know a lot about relationships, gender, a lot of the questions we're talking about, sexuality, things we talk about today, 1 Corinthians 7 is the largest text in the New Testament that deals with gender and sex. So here's a little snippet that was actually pretty controversial and groundbreaking for its time. So it says, the wife does not have authority over her own body, which yields, but yields it to her husband. That's not the groundbreaking part, but in its time, in the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. And so, I grew up in a complementarian church, which meant that we see men as leaders, men have authority, men are in charge, only men should be pastors. This actually, I just heard, is the only time authority is actually mentioned. The word authority is mentioned when it comes to gender roles. And here it's in a mutual position. So, in a marriage, I have authority over you. You have authority over me. And so when I read this, what I see is that we have a responsibility to care for one another's needs and to serve one another. And so when we look at, our intimacy, our romance in a relationship, that's a really key part of it, is we're here to serve one another. Something to take to heart. So intimacy, the question is basically a simple one. How can you improve your intimacy? How can you better serve the other person and not look out for your own interests? I'll give you a quick second to ponder your relationship. Of course, I'm talking to a room. Not everyone's married, and so there is a place for romance. Of course, I side with Tim Keller that sexual relations is just for marriage, but there's definitely a place for the chasing and the desire and the romance, as you're preparing for maybe something more committed. But how can you improve your intimacy? And now we can move on. So that was L is lifestyle, I is intimacy. V is for vocation. Vocation. I like working with you. This is the practical side of the level of like. I like that we're a team together. So we have a verse right here. Really simple. Galatians 6:2, carry each other's burdens. And of course, this is Paul talking to church in Galatia. So this isn't in the context of a romantic relationship. This is for one another. It's applied to a church, but how much more so if you have, a specific person in your life, that we should be carrying each other's burdens. This week, and especially, today, yesterday, Hannah was definitely showing that for me, as I can barely get up and move around. She was taking care of me. She was putting my shoes on, things like that, because I've been trying to avoid bending, and the last time I put my shoes on, it pinched something. So the last couple days, she's been really taking care of me. In fact, this morning, I was supposed to preach at another church, and Hannah, the last minute, I think at 3 in the morning, when I'm waking her up in pain, she decides she's willing to go ahead and preach in my place, and she did an amazing job, of course, surprise, surprise. But man, that meant so much to me. Another area that we've worked on when it comes to this area of working together, Hannah just read a book on emotional labor, and she was telling me about it the other day, how there's so many things that a spouse or somebody in the household will take on that a lot of times the other person doesn't notice. So, if you're a parent, you're thinking through schedules, you're thinking through all the different needs and stuff. You're worrying about the other person. You're worrying about the household. You're making sure it's not just a matter of putting the dishes away or making a meal, but it's thinking through the meals, thinking everything through, what's the best for your diet, what's the best that you're going to actually like, how can I time it out? And there's just so much that people in a relationship will hold on to as emotional labor. But the book she was reading in particular was saying how historically that has been the woman's job, and today it still tends to be a burden that women in a relationship hold on to, that a lot of times the men and women both are not very aware of how much of an emotional labor that a wife will have on herself. And so we've talked about it, and it's really hard. I'll be honest, when we're having this conversation, it's really hard not to get defensive, like to hear it as I'm not doing enough as a husband, or I'm not thinking of you enough. But so we got through some rocky conversations, and now I'm working on that a little more every day. I'm a little more aware. We go on a trip. Okay, I should pack my stuff, and I should do it right away, because she's going to be thinking, if I don't, and it's about an hour before we leave, I'm thinking I can pack in 10 minutes. But Hannah's thinking, oh, I'm probably going to have to pack for him. so I'm starting to pack earlier. Things like, just these little things to try to carry that emotional labor a little better. But a lot of times as husbands, we have a financial burden that we worry about. And so this whole year I've been worrying about our finances and what it's going to look like and stuff like that. And so as Hannah's sharing about her emotional labor, I'm sharing about our financial labor. And so she gets a side job just this last week. And it's just freeing me up so much to not have to worry so much. And it's been this cool thing that even though it was kind of rocky, it's been a cool thing to be able to share the load with Hannah. So consider, this one I'm gonna fling back at you guys. So again, this is in a marriage, in a relationship, whatever it may be. I want you to think about a time when somebody else or when you took on the burden for someone else. So of course, as you think of your relationships, you can think of how can you help your partner's load, help carry a bit of a load. But can you think of a time when someone else helped you carry a load, or when you helped someone else? Are there some examples of this? Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, great. So you have language around, I need some help. My load is pretty heavy. Great, great.
Kids are nicer to him.
Oh, yeah, so there's that too. Yup. I see that. That makes sense. Oh, very good. Give them a hand. That's cool. Anyone else in a relationship or a friendship or a parent relationship, whatever it may be, a time when you really appreciated somebody else or you taking on their load? I know these things you got to think through. This is doesn't always come to mind right away, so I'll give you a chance to think. I will be staring at you the entire time, but I'll give you a chance to think. I know I bragged about Eben plenty of times when he saw a post on Facebook when he was looking for a place to move, and someone said, "Hey, I've got a disability. I'll need help in the middle of the night, moving and stuff like that." And Eben, one of the first times I met him, he was telling me about this, that he's like, "Yeah, this is a great opportunity." And the guy wanted to pay him. This was like a paid kind of post offer. And he said, "Why would you do that? Take away my opportunity to serve." And I love that. I thought that was so cool. A cool way. Anyone else? Yeah.
A couple years or last summer, I was going through a hard time, and I was getting coffee with a friend, and she was just like, "What do you need?" Or I was talking to her. I was like, "We're eating terrible. We're ordering pizza all the time." Like I was feeling bad about that, spending money on stuff. And so she made me like mostaccioli or something like that, or it was chicken Alfredo, like that next week, and just dropped it off, and it was just like a frozen meal. It was like it fed us for like I think like the week. And
Yeah.
it was such like a tangible way that she could help, because she heard me saying, "Oh, we're not eating right, or we're spending too much money here," and she's like, "Here you go." And so
I love that. That's good. That's good.
So when we had both of our babies, after like Anchor as a whole like gathered around us, we got like
Oh,
two
cool.
weeks worth of meals from everybody. Like people, you guys dropped off frozen dinners. There was like a bunch of people who kind of rallied around us. So like we were able to like focus on healing and taking care of the kids, and it was amazing. I feel like we had like a whole little. They say it takes a village, and it really does.
Hmm.
I feel like we had that.
Okay. love you guys. That's cool. All right. Let's go. Okay, so we got L is what? Can you guys say it? Lifestyle. Your favorite. I, intimacy. V, vocation. So we're on the last one. E, emotion.